All right, welcome back. Um, this will be the video on the first chapter, which is called Hedge of Croton. So basically, the theme of this chapter is the titular Hedge of Croton. It's this plant that has a bunch of leaves of a bunch of different colors. And basically, the main character, this woman named Tawane, she plants, while all the other women of the island, it's set on the island of Dominica, plant rows of beautiful flowers. She likes this one hedge of croton, which kind of grows up towards the sky in its own unruly way. And she finds kind of solace in that. Um, it can't be controlled, it's wild. Um, so basically the chapter starts with this overview of Caribbean history. Michener compares Caribbean history to a hurricane, and he talks about basically the islands are beautiful, as you can see from the little drawing there. Um, they're beautiful. And then all of a sudden, a violent storm will come in and cause massive destruction. But then, once the damage is done, the islands are back to being calm and peaceful and just as beautiful as before. And that's kind of what he goes through in a couple of chapters throughout the book. For example, in one of the later ones, it takes place on the island of Guadeloupe, and it starts with all these like the lovely nature of French society, how elegant it was on the island, like the hardworking citizens, just kind of like living their little lives. And then all of a sudden, the French Revolution comes in and it's executions and bloodshed and just horror. And then the revolution leaves and life goes on and it just resumes into a beautiful island again. And so that's kind of what he goes over. So back to the story. He then talks about the woman Tiwane, and she has a husband named Bakamu, and they are Arawaks, and they live in this little village on the island. Bakamu is a bit of an explorer. He sails out on his canoe, he goes hunting. He's had some interaction with people outside of the island, even though that's very rare, according to Tawane. And he's regarded as one of the leaders of the village. So the chapter starts with Bakamu coming back to Tawane and telling her he's found people on the other side of the island. They don't know if they're peaceful, if they're dangerous, but Tawane and the village start prepared. Then the chapter goes along with their daily life. They mix together drinks, they play a ball game, very similar to if you know the Mayan ball game. It's a ball game similar to that. And they just have a very nice day. Um, Tawane is very clever, and so she arranges her defense as well and plans out all these kind of contingencies if the people from the other side of the island arrive. Um, but then it goes into the other side of the island. They are the Caribs, led by Karaku, and they have recently arrived from mainland South America. And they are kind of this warrior culture, and they're there to, find new lands and new people to conquer because their old home was too overcrowded. So then it goes back to talking about Tiwane. She mixes together this drink out of manioc, and it kind of talks about how smart she is for figuring out all these different uses for this plant. And it has a nice little picture, which I did not take a picture of. Um, hold on, let me put it up. All right, so here's the picture. and it kind of shows this device that she invented, um, where you can kind of squeeze the poison out of the maniac and eventually leave it in the sun so that it can change into a drink that they can drink. So it's really fun and it's really informative. And then the game, or sorry, then it kind of returns to talking about the ball game, and it talks about how the leader of the Carib, Karaku, is actually watching the ball game, and he decides now is the time to attack. So he sends his soldiers down, and they capture Bakamu, and they execute him. And they tear down all the pillars of the ball game, and they break the ball, and they go into the village and burn the village down. And then Wane is captured, and Karaku decides that he wants her to be his wife, or something less than a wife, more of like a concubine. But and Tawane also sees her daughter get killed. She has an infant daughter, and her daughter is killed by these invaders because she's not old enough to be useful to them. And then the final straw for her is that the invaders cut down the great Croton hedge, and it's too much for her. So she grabs a knife that she had hidden, and she jumps for Karaku to stab him, and that's where the chapter ends. Yeah, it's kind of a recurring thing in the first few chapters of the book to have the main characters kind of end in like a moment of crisis or a moment of action. So I think it is definite that she does kill Karaku. What happens to her after? We don't know, but it's probably not good. All right, so that's the first chapter. It's pretty short. It's 20 pages, and most of the other chapters in the book are at least 50, if not over 100. So the next few videos will be much longer than this, but I don't know, I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, look out for part two.